enough of that noise. Time for the B-roll, boys.
Hello, welcome to the show. My name is Harlan Ivester.
And I'm Justin.
I'm Wes. You don't get to know my last name like Harlan's.
Damn.
It's also Ivester.
Fuck. Anyway, forget that. We are the B-roll boys. The three and only. And tonight we're talking about fucking Sherlock Gnomes.
And why are we talking about Sherlock Gnomes, Harlan?
I don't know.
Because someone thought it'd be real fucking funny to have us watch that.
Alright, so, yeah, why did I put Sherlock Gnomes on my wheel? Because it's called Sherlock Gnomes, and I kind of felt like I knew what I was getting into just off the title, and I feel like it was pretty accurate, you know? I feel like this is one of the instances where you can, in fact, judge a book by its cover.
I will say this is exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, right? Like, you know what you were getting going into this, like... It's fucking Sherlock Gnomes.
Right.
Did you realize this was a sequel when you picked it?
I don't think I did.
You didn't know that there was a lore that we needed to establish before watching this?
Yeah, no.
We had to read the Cimmerillion of gnome movies.
Yeah, I was pretty unversed. Yeah, so for those unaware, Sherlock Gnomes is a sequel. This came out in 2017, I think. And it is a sequel to the much beloved Romeo and Juliet, which came out in 2011. Thank God we got a sequel. And you might be asking yourself, why is Sherlock Gnomes a sequel to Romeo and Juliet? How do the two connect? You know, Shakespeare didn't.
I'm asking the
dick.
same question because I don't know either.
Yeah, I mean Shakespeare didn't do a dick with Sherlock Gnomes, did he?
I don't think.
I don't know.
Did Shakespeare invent the garden gnome? I mean, Romeo and Juliet's already a dumbass fucking story too, so I guess, you know, he could just add on to that with the invention of garden gnomes, which I've never understood the point of, personally. I always thought that they were kind of gaudy and tacky, so when I realized that there was just going to be a movie of that...
Yeah.
Well, it was set in London, so...
So that makes it a little classy. So yeah, the plot of the plot of Romeo and Juliet, from what I understand, can best be described as Romeo and Juliet. Them being gnomes, I don't believe has any bearing on the plot. And surprise, that kind of goes for this movie too. Like, save for like a few tiny little things that aren't important. Like, there's no reason.
Like all of it.
There's no reason for them to be gnomes, other than just the puns. Which, whatever, I guess, but, like, I mean, there's a lot of comparisons to be made to Toy Story in this movie, because it's the same sort of...
the poorest possible version of a Toy Story ripoff. I think the only real novelty with the gnomes is that there's the idea that they can break. It's like, oh, we can't be crushed, but I mean, you can't crush a person either, so...
Well, in Toy Story 3...
Exactly, yeah.
They were going to get incinerated in that one.
Yeah, that's way more high stakes than... I don't know, being crushed by a bridge in the shape of an M.
It's just like a weirdly specific way to die.
Or was it in the shape of a W?
I kind of figured this was going to be like a stupid generic kids movie full of like pop culture references that they're supposed to be thrown in there for the parents, because what kid is listening to Elton John?
Children love Elton John.
All 0 of them that know who he is. But, like, the jokes thrown in there for the adults, I just didn't think that they were witty. This is, like, great value Disney.
Like the gnome dabbing?
Pixar.
That was thrown in there for the adults. Gnomes dabbing.
Let me back up a little bit.
Okay.
This movie has quite the cast. The
Star-studded even.
Yes, the titular Sherlock Gnomes is voiced by none other than Johnny Depp. Returning to reprise their roles from Romeo and Juliet, we have Emily Blunt as Juliet and James McAvoy as Romeo. There's also Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think is how you pronounce his name. Michael Caine,
I can't
Ozzy
read, so
Osbourne. Mary J. Blige is in this movie. I don't know what I guess it was just a slow month for these guys because they clearly had nothing better to do.
The millions were running dry.
And here's the thing, right? Is like this movie looks pretty good. Like as far as the animation goes, like it's a decent looking movie. And every now and then it'll sprinkle in like some different style of animation. Like anytime Sherlock Gnomes has a brain blast, you go inside his mind and it's 2D black and white. And then there's a part where like they draw like a map of a plan of escape at some point. It's like cute little grand drawings. Like there's shit like that that I can appreciate in this movie. And then so the budget must have all gone to that and just the cast for their star power alone. And the marketing.
Because kids give a shit about Emily Blunt.
Well,
That's the Full Metal bitch, sir.
Have you guys seen any of the posters or ads for this movie?
No, I wasn't
no
aware
clue it
of this
existed
until you
and your
shat
fucking
this
wheel.
into my life.
You're welcome. So there's the marketing for this movie is like they made a bunch of parody posters.
Of course they did.
Yeah, where it's like other popular films that were out around the time this came out.
And better films.
Like they had like a Wonder Woman style poster. They had a I Gnome, which was a play on I, Tonya on Hulu for some reason.
And not iRobot.
There was one for The Shape of Water, and it was Romeo and Juliet in the water. Shit like that. Like,
no, it's not funny. Stop it.
I mean,
the lowest of hanging fruit.
Yeah, it's like it's for you to point out and be like, oh, I know what that is referencing.
The humor comes from me recognizing what that is. That inherently makes it funny because I did not expect to see that thing in this other dumber thing that I'm watching.
Yeah, to be clear, my laughing was at the absurdity of it, and
no, you thought it was funny. Harlow
you
was
thought it was
fucking
funny.
losing it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He was laughing through this whole thing. Justin and I were just sitting there, just straight faced, and Harlan's like, just constantly.
He choked on his breast milk during the Wilhelm scream part.
Which I missed. There was a point where so there's like a cat. Okay, so let me back up. It's not just gnomes that are sentient in this world. Like it's like pretty much any toy or statue or
it's
something
like a
of that
decoration because I don't see toys so much as like they've got this like ceramic cats are the ones where their paws kind of dip.
Yeah, whatever.
I have many questions about many things involving all of that, but go on.
But so that scene with the cat ceramic doll statue thing, they like falls over and it's like the most like it's like if you Google like stock cat sound effects, like it'll be the first one you find.
That is the one. If you've seen a movie or a TV show at all, you've heard this cat noise a billion times.
And Justin heard that and he said something about there being a Wilhelm scream. And I knew there was one, I just didn't know where it was, and unfortunately I missed it.
I was
how
like,
you
this
could have
is
missed
the
it.
perfect kind of dumbass, faux, self-aware movie that would have a Wilhelm scream and be like, huh, that's for the audience.
You know, that's the most frustrating thing about this movie is it's like it's self-aware, it knows that it's stupid, but it seems like they think that makes it okay for it to be stupid. And like, in certain situations that is the case, but not in this one. Like the writing is still not witty enough for there to be anything of value here. Did you guys laugh once at any joke in this movie?
I can't think of anything that was legitimately funny.
Yeah,
it's just like a dollar store version of Toy Story. There's just like no thought put into it whatsoever. Yeah,
there was shit that we laughed at because we were, making dumb jokes about what was happening in the movie. But obviously that's a separate thing entirely. Like we were
laughing
making each other
at
laugh.
the movie, not with it.
Yeah, exactly. There was not one good thing about the writing in this movie.
Like the thing that always, it doesn't confuse me because I imagine that these kids' movies are a lot of times just easy money, especially if you're catering to whatever the hottest trends are of the time. So there's a lot of dabbing. I really expected, like, what was this, 2017? Was Fortnite out at that point?
I think
I
so.
don't honestly remember, but like
Yeah,
I would
it's
have
been out for a
expected
little
this.
while.
This is the kind of movie where you'd have like a floss dance in it to appeal to
Totally.
the kids.
Totally.
And the thing about whenever you zoom a movie so hardcore into whatever the pop culture references are at the time, it ages like milk, because there's no chance that a kid 20 years from now is going to be able to look back at this and enjoy it in any real way, because they're just going to be like, what the fuck is a selfie stick? What is dabbing?
What are these
And-
pop songs?
I don't think kids now can enjoy it because that's one of the weird things to me is this is a sequel made 7 years after the first one, right? You said that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
the
good
kids
point.
that were
So-
diehard Romeo and Juliet fans are in like high school by now.
Yeah, exactly. 7 years is a long fucking time when you're a kid.
Do you
Like
think this is
if
how,
you watch
like,
if you watch the first one when you were 10, you were 17 when this came out.
Yeah,
Like,
and
is
I-
anyone gonna want to see another one? Like, what were they fucking thinking?
Was this that memorable?
This
Yeah.
isn't like, you know, how we felt to see The Incredibles 2, you know? 'Cause Incredibles is a great movie, you know? Incredibles 2, not so much, but that's beside the point, you know? We were excited, and that was worth going back to see it continue. But this, who gives a shit? And I guess
also-
we... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I was going to get into the plot a little bit, because we haven't talked about that.
Well, like the thing about those Disney movies, and I used to, I'm still not particularly fond of it. Of hey, let's take a thing from 20 years ago and make a sequel to it now. But I kind of get it in that, yeah, if you're like between 7 and 10 years old or whatever when Finding Nemo comes out, and then you're in your 20s when Finding Dory comes out, then it's like, okay, we're gonna cater to that nostalgia.
Yeah.
But when you're in high school, like the age range that Wes was saying, like 10 to 17, you're too cool for school to see fucking kids movies when you're in high school.
Yeah, missed the boat.
So it's like, great, you're going to try to cater to an audience that wants nothing to do with you. And again, at least with those other movies, like maybe I'm just biased because these are the ones that I grew up with. Granted, not every single movie that came out when I was a kid was a hit. There were plenty of dud nothing movies. Like, anyone remember Shark Tale? Does anyone need a fucking sequel to Shark Tale? This
Please.
reminded me of Shark Tale. And I thought, was there a single kid that didn't forget this on the car ride home? Was there a single kid that like was, or the first one specifically, like was there any kid that was a fan of this movie that wasn't just pacified by flashing lights and colors?
What, were there children that, like, left the theater and they were like, Dad, will you buy me a gnome?
Yeah. Did you? Was there merch sold of this? Was it successful? Like, yeah, I can tell you, of all the things that I was obsessed with as a kid, Garden Gnomes was not fucking one of them.
They couldn't
Toy
even
Story
sell
worked
Pops.
because I had toys. Finding
Yeah,
Nemo
Toy Story
worked because
is-
I liked fish. Like, these are
Toy
not
Story's
hard
at
things
least,
to
like-
cash in on.
Toy Story is
Yeah.
at least, like, you know, it's the whole umbrella of toys. Like, that's, you know, easily, you can easily make that diverse and, you know, like, what your characters look like and shit and what they do. But this is just
Yeah.
gnomes. It's just, they're gnomes.
Yeah.
That's it. There's
No kid in existence has cared about ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even just gnomes. They have a sentient fucking frog decoration that comes to life
Yeah,
too.
it's mostly, like, just general garden statues and shit like that. Gnomes or otherwise.
Yeah.
And like in Toy Story, when there's like actively kids around the toys, there's no one in fucking sight for these gnomes or anything that's happening.
And we get the janitor at one point, the guy that's like cleaning the floor in the building.
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I guess,
don't think
but-
we ever see his face. They never show human faces.
That would
toys-
require animating a human face.
Well,
Did you
comparing
see
it
the
to
fucking
Toy Story,
squirrels? The squirrels looked like they were out of a different movie. Like, they put so much effort into the hairs and shit on their face. Like, what a weird... And they were in it for, like, 2 frames. What a weird place to put that much effort.
I didn't even notice the squirrels.
I didn't really pick up on them that much, but as far as the animation of this movie, I thought it's functional. It's okay, but normally with these animated movies, there's some kind of shtick that they're trying to achieve, like how Frozen, they built an entire physics engine for the snow, and like every single one, you know, they animate the hair a little bit differently, or like there's some kind of technology that they're pushing forward. This was just like paint by numbers to me.
just
I didn't notice a
functions.
single thing that was
Yeah.
different than it looked like. Yeah, a template almost.
It's like they had the rigs from the first movie, and they're like, we can just do this as a quick cash grab.
Just
This
copy
is
and paste.
DLC for Romeo and Juliet.
It's an expansion.
So yeah, that plot. Yeah. So like I said, the first one, Romeo and Juliet, can be summed up as Romeo and Juliet. Sherlock Gnomes.
Stunning.
Starts with Sherlock, Johnny Depp, facing off against Moriarty, and he's just annoying. They clearly have like a Batman and Joker type thing going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Moriarty dies, and this movie telegraphs very quickly that Watson is going to double cross Sherlock.
Because he's getting cucked the entire first like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's been the whole movie is just like, okay, I'll get to that, but so the movie telegraphs very clearly that Watson is gonna double cross Sherlock for just being a dick to him. And I know, here's the thing, I know people would be like, oh, it's a kids movie, who cares? But how do children benefit from the twist being obvious? You know, who does that benefit for the twist to be obvious? I don't understand. Like, because it wouldn't have taken any more effort to just not put in the things that made it obvious that he was going to be the bad guy, you know?
Like, kids don't benefit from having, even if kids are not going to pick up on that twist, like, they're not going to benefit from having a movie that talks down to them.
Yeah, like, that's not good for anyone. Like, I am bored, and I guess the kids will be fine with it, but...
Like, I want to say that if I had seen this as a kid, I probably wouldn't have cared about it that much. Again, aside from the obvious fact that garden gnomes have never exactly, you know, gotten me going in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, you don't collect them like Pops?
No, but, like, there are plenty of stupid kids movies that came out around that time that I didn't care about. Like, I was granted, I was a little bit older by the time Cars came out, but I remember watching that in the theater, and I was kind of like, yeah, I don't need to see these movies anymore. And then Wall-E came out, and I missed out on it because I was a stupid asshole. But
dumbass.
Like, it was like the anti-Trojan horse to get me to ignore Disney movies for like 10 years.
So, yeah. So, were you guys wondering for the first like 30 minutes how this was related to Romeo and Juliet? Like, because for a good chunk of this movie, the plot line. Okay, so there's the Sherlock and Watson thing going on. And then we have like a B plot about Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, they seem completely separated.
They totally were for the first like 30 minutes of this movie. They had nothing to do with each other. Romeo and Juliet, with all of their gnome community, move to a new garden, and they're having marital strife because Juliet is caring more about making the garden look nice than taking care of her man's needs.
It's like, who fucking cares, man? He could have chopped out the entire first half hour of this, and it wouldn't have made any difference.
Well, not even just that, but like I felt stupid because like in the first part of the movie when it just shows Sherlock and Watson, I'm like, are these just people?
Yeah, exactly. It's not even transparent that they're gnomes. Like,
it doesn't show that they're gnomes whatsoever. Like they just look like stylized humans.
Yeah.
And you just think, what the fuck's happening? When's the garden gnomes going to come in? And only like 15 minutes in did I realize that they were supposed to be lawn ornaments, I guess. And I was like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot.
Oh, you thought that people were going to give a shit about these garden gnomes going missing. Someone's going to be like, oh, I'm on the case now, and not just respond like everyone else would and just be like, oh.
Yeah, that's another thing, like, comparing it to Toy Story again. So, like, the toys had, like, the system of detecting when someone was going to be around, but, like, how does an ecosystem of garden gnomes do that? Like, anyone can just walk by or go outside at any time, and these gnomes in this movie are gone days at a time, and it never shows anybody that lives in the fucking house. So, like, when does all this happen?
You're putting way more thought into it than... Is this DreamWorks? This looks like a DreamWorks thing.
I think it was Paramount.
They're all the fucking same.
I mean, I understand the director of this also directed Shrek 2, and it was probably the same amount of, like, shallow and lowest common denominator as Shrek 2, as any of the Shrek movies.
I guess that's fair. But this had Ozzy Osbourne in it.
Yeah, barely, like, grunting out 3 lines throughout the entire thing. And again, what fucking... Again, it's not for the kids. I have to keep telling myself it's not for the kids.
Yeah, it's for the parents that brought
What
them.
parents are gonna be like, whoa, for fucking Ozzy Osbourne being in this? Who gives a shit?
Oh shit, I know him!
He's got like this little like F nothing part that has 2 lines and no significance to the story. Isn't that funny? Let's bank these kids' movies off of celebrities they have no awareness of whatsoever.
I just wonder how much he got for it, because like a lot of people do kids movies specifically because like they have little kids and they're like, oh, it'd be fun for them, like for me to be in a movie they can see or whatever.
Yeah.
But Ozzy's like fucking 90. Like who's he
That's
doing
like
this
Ozzy's
for?
kids are like older than we are.
He probably just thought it was fucking dumb, and he was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
I guess this will buy me a quarter.
I mean...
So he's like, hell yeah.
I could buy an 8-ball with this.
So yeah, the first like 30 minutes of this movie, there's like totally separate plots about Sherlock and a marriage story-esque divorce that is imminent among Romeo and Juliet. Eventually they meet up, and yeah, then it's just them like chasing clues that aren't clever or interesting.
Chasing Amy.
That's like another thing, like
Sorry.
they don't
Are you fucking serious?
they don't fucking establish that they're gnomes. And like the classic Sherlock Holmes villain is Moriarty, and they just keep his name like that. I just thought that was weird too.
Yeah, like he's
kids,
just Moriarty.
Kids aren't going to know about Moriarty, and they're probably just going to be more confused than anything.
Kids
like, I
can't
feel like
pronounce Moriarty.
well, yeah, and that's another. Like Sherlock Holmes and Watson looked like people. I thought they were just supposed to be people for the first bit of the movie.
Like they're just
but
stylized
then,
people. They're not gnomes at all.
Yeah, but then they keep Moriarty in as the Moriarty character for Sherlock Holmes, but then they make him like an ice cream company mascot toy thing.
Yeah, why?
Like there's like no consistency in fucking anything.
Yeah.
I know it's just a cookie cutter kids movie, but there's literally no thought put into it whatsoever.
They didn't
hate
care
it.
to immerse you in the world.
I wanted
They
to be
didn't have like
immersed.
this Dark Souls landscape for you to
When-
drink in the entire time.
When my buddy old pal Harlan was like, we're going to watch Sherlock Gnomes, I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait for this.
shit blood.
And then I was disappointed.
I'm sorry.
You
This
shit
was
blood
supposed
when
to
the
be-
pug
This
came
was
on
supposed to
screen.
be the best movie we watched so far.
Is it better than-
like early on, I kind of was like, I don't hate this as much as I should, and it wasn't so much like anything was, oh, this is atrociously like out of place or bad. I thought, no, this is just fucking boring.
Yeah, there's just nothing interesting going on. Like, there's nothing clever about the writing.
It's the worst kind of bad.
Sherlock has like a character arc, you know, because Watson is okay. So for a lot of what's going on in the movie is Watson and Nomeo are both being cucked by Juliet and Sherlock. Like Juliet only gives a shit about her garden, and Sherlock doesn't give a shit about Watson. So they just go and fuck off and do their own thing, and Nomeo and Watson are just like, well, shit, we're getting cucked now. Okay, cool. And it's just that while they chase clues, and them being a gnome doesn't matter to the plot at all.
It has no significance. Like, you could have made this about anything else. Take any anthropomorphized creature and make that the main character, and it would have had more impact than them being gnomes.
Yeah, they could have been animals. They could have been other, you know, it could have been an actual Toy Story scenario.
Could have
where-
been furries. Why not?
It could have
More
just been
interesting
a
than this.
It could have just been a Madagascar sequel. Like it was literally that cookie cutter. You can put any skin on it and it would have been the fucking same.
Yeah,
Yo, I loved Madagascar as a kid. Does that hold up?
probably not.
We should probably not test those waters.
Fuck.
So yeah, they go from place to place, and each time they get to a place, there's a chase sequence, you know, or an action scene. And
Punctuated by
there's
a pop song.
yeah,
Jesus
there's always got to
Christ.
be a pop song. Like, God forbid there be any tension in this kid's movie, because you know, like, oh man, my beloved protagonists are all in perilous danger, but thank God this pop song is here to let me know that everything's okay and everybody's having a good time.
Yeah, we don't want to give anybody anxiety over their no movie and make them give a shit about the plot. It's just going to be a like roller coaster, and This is really just one of those where you take the kids to the theater over the weekend, and you pacify them with sugar and candy so they flip their shit, and then watch this, their brain shits it out on the way home, and they just fall asleep in the car, and then you're given 30 minutes of peace.
And doesn't it tick, like, it checks off every box of you know, like a kid's movie trope. Like, there's a song, there's a dance number, there's fucking, like, LOL random humor, there's pop culture references that the kids aren't gonna give a shit about. Like, it hits all of them.
Like, I guess a couple, like, maybe some of the older kids would be like, oh my god, there's a selfie stick there. But yeah, it's all just so
It's like,
fleeting.
Okay.
It's
like,
fleeting,
oh,
it doesn't have any significance. It's just, yeah, like you said, it was like lol random kind of
It's
humor.
like, okay, Moriarty uses a selfie stick, and it's like, alright.
And there's a dance number with Mary
That's it?
J. Blige, who precisely zero of the audience gives a shit about.
Which is an original song, by the way. She sings a song that
She
is...
has her girl boss song.
Her character is Sherlock's ex-fiance, I think. I think they were engaged, or they were just dating. I don't know. And yeah, they go to her for help for something. I don't remember what. And yeah, she like gets on stage and starts singing a song about what a strong woman she is. Now she doesn't need Sherlock. That's exactly what it's about, and that's about as deep as it gets.
Hashtag girl boss.
And she was the only one that was a toy in the movie, right? Because she looked like a Barbie doll.
Well, she was hanging out with a bunch of toys. Like, there was like a Danky Kang, and they had like a Rock'em Sock'em Robots type thing going on. It wasn't
Danky
Rock'em
Kang.
Sock'em, but basically it.
I don't know why I didn't even like make the connection that any of those were toys, but I guess my neurons just weren't firing by that
Because
point.
it didn't matter. It didn't matter that
I
they
was
were
just
toys.
lulled into a state of like, I'd say 40 minutes into this, I was just leaning back in my chair, like mouth agape, just like just
It could
kind
have
of
been
taking
anything.
it in, but without absorbing or thinking about anything.
They could have been
And-
pickles. That would have been hilarious.
Funniest
Yes.
shit I've ever seen.
Turns himself into a pickle.
Here's the thing, right? This movie is the credits start at the 1 hour and 17-minute mark. This is like barely a feature length film, and yet
That was great. That was good.
Did
I
it
loved
feel like
it.
Did it feel like it was like 2 hours long to you guys?
Yes.
Like, this movie just fucking dragged on, and yeah, there's like needless plot twists that Watson double crosses Sherlock, but then it turns out Moriarty was alive and pulling the strings the whole time. Okay, cool. And then there's like the climax. I guess the entire third act is just like so drawn out. It's really weird. Like it edges and edges for so long before finally blowing its load at the climax. And then
Of a kid's movie.
yeah, and then like everything's resolved, and then boom, credits. Like they fucking save all the gnomes from being crushed by a drawbridge, and then they have a dance party back at the garden, and that's it. And then credits roll, and it's just like that's all there is to it. Like
You gotta
I
have a
don't know.
dance party at the garden that they
Was-
tend.
Wait, was there twerking in this?
I
Because
don't
there
think
was
so.
there was the gnome that had like the Borat thong thing, but I don't remember if he explicitly
I don't
twerked.
think so. I think he just shook his booty, but not in a twerking manner.
Okay.
The
It was in,
closest
like,
thing
a
I saw was a
family,
dab.
family-friendly way.
No one flossed, but someone did dab, so that was cool.
When did they dab? I missed that.
There was when they had all the pictures of the different gnomes, and one of them was dabbing. I think it was the Maggie Smith character.
There what? God damn it! Are you serious?
Yeah.
Another one of the posters I forgot to mention for this movie was Juliet dabbing, and the poster says TGIF, thank gnome, it's Friday.
Oh my
All right, listen.
god.
All right, listen. That's pretty good. Come on.
No, it's
Fuck you.
not.
No, come on. That's pretty
Fuck
good.
off!
What
Come on.
corporate fucking hacks even thought that was even remotely clever?
You know what that sounds
It's not
like
even
to
a
me?
good
Like
play on words because the G is silent.
it sounds like they just like put it in like a poster generator, like in a computer. Like it just
Yeah.
randomly masked gnome into something that started with a G, and they were like, "Yep, great."
Clever
Yeah, that's a
bot
good
writes
idea.
a script.
I mean, it didn't even do that for all the other posters. Like Shape of Water is Shape of Gnomes. All right, that joke is literally just, oh, I recognize that.
Talking to all the kids that gave a shit about Shape of Water.
Yeah, right.
I would love a Departed reference. Or no, they even did have like a Die Hard reference in this. Again, I know it's for the parents, but
I shot my load. with the Die
I
Hard
guess
Was it worth this hour and 20 minute?
you made me think of a better movie that I wish I was watching. It's, I recognize that, and that's therefore makes it funny. He. God.
I think
Fuck
Family
everything.
Guy really
This movie
started
was
that
like the
shit
worst
off.
kind of shitty.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like there's not too much to hate about this movie. It's just so aggressively mediocre, you know. It's there's character development, I guess. I don't know. But do you guys have anything else to say about this movie? Like, I don't know if there's gonna be a bonus episode. I'm surprised at how much I did have to say about this movie, considering that my biggest takeaway is just that it's so just aggressively mediocre at barely not even an hour and 20 minutes, you know?
I just have a question. How many more fucking kids movies are on your list?
At least one.
Let's just keep it like that.
Oh, well, here's the thing,
My
man. Like,
God.
there are much worse movies on my list than this, because I hadn't seen this movie before tonight, so I wasn't really sure what we were getting into.
Is this the first one that all three of us had not seen?
I think so.
Wow.
It's like, you know, I
I've
was
seen
pushing...
every movie that I recommended.
I'm a pioneer.
And, you know, it was my challenge for you guys to find something shittier than Battlefield Earth, and that hasn't happened yet.
I don't think that's possible. That's the worst movie we've watched.
When
Wait
it
until we
happens,
cover
that's
Neil
going to be great.
Breen.
If there is a movie worse, I'm probably going to be the one to recommend it anyway.
Battlefield Earth looks like a fucking Oscar winner compared to Neil Breen.
I am
Yeah,
looking
dude.
forward to watching a Neil Breen movie. But anyway, no, there's definitely at least two kids movies on my list that are worse than this, and fate's gonna decide when that happens.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
I mean, what would you give this out of 10? I'd give it like a 4.
4, yeah.
That's
Like
what
the
I was
most
thinking.
boring 4 that I can give it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's nothing to hate about this movie. It's just so like they shit it out just cause.
It definitely exists.
Yeah, it's whatever. Like
We couldn't
It's-
even find
it's-
any fucking trivia about it.
yeah, I
Did you
scoured
say the
IM
trivia was that it has a Wilhelm scream in it?
Yeah, that was pretty much.
That was their crown jewel. Some nerd on IMDb was like, fuck, this is my
No.
opening.
There's
There was
nothing
another
else.
one. There was another one that said the title of the movie is a pun on the name Sherlock Holmes. Duh.
Like, there's some drooling dipshit that's like, oh, fuck, bro, really?
Like, I kind of wish they did roll with that theme. Like, if you're gonna go hard in the puns, you need to do it for fucking everything.
Yeah, there were a lot of
you
missed
can't let up.
opportunities.
They didn't commit.
They
They
kind of
didn't
blew their
commit.
load. They kind of blew their load with the puns in the first like 3 seconds, because the framing device that they set up is there's 3 gnomes that are like reading you a story from a storybook, and they're like, we're going. And it's really weird because they say we're gonna read you Sherlock Holmes. And then the other gnomes are like, no, read a Game of Gnomes. And then they list off a bunch of other, stories or whatever with a gnome pun. But Sherlock Holmes doesn't have the gnome pun. And yet, the protagonist of the story that they are reading us, based on the framing device that they set up, is Sherlock Gnomes. So why is the story called Sherlock Holmes?
Well, see, I
But
thought that
they're
was
like-
weird too.
They're
because
like, Spider-Man Gnome coming! And they just name a bunch of gnome shit. They just couldn't wait to get it out. It had to be in the first 5 seconds of the fucking movie.
I completely forgot about that framing device.
Right? Like, it
at the
didn't
very
matter.
end, though, at the very end of that, though, they do say, "All right, let's begin Sherlock Gnomes" or whatever. So it's almost like they said Sherlock Holmes right in the first place and just didn't catch it. So they released it that way.
I mean, yeah, well, the book even, like, you see the book and the title says Sherlock Holmes. So they say
okay.
Sherlock Holmes and it reads Sherlock Holmes, but then every instance after that it is referred to as Sherlock Gnomes. But yeah, like Justin said, like, you totally forget about that framing device because it's not incorporated in any way at all for the rest of the movie. Like, not even at the very end are they like, and that brings our story to a close. We hope you enjoyed this. Go fuck yourself. You know, like, it's just, that's it.
They never even, like, touched on it again.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's
like,
true.
it's
Like
just-
I
It was literally there
forgot
just
about
for
it.
them to name movies with gnome puns. Like,
see, they
that's the
could've
only
just-
reason it was there.
They could have just kept going. Just keep introducing weird cameo characters like fucking Broforce or something, and just naming them Gnome something. Like that could have been funny. I was with it with the puns for a little bit.
I didn't have a single Tremors reference to pull from this. So that's kind
There
of
was like
bullshit.
5 Tremors movies. They had plenty of material to work with.
There was no Jaws 3D, no Jason X, like none of these golden installments that they could have pulled from. No Saw 4.
No Casino.
No Departed.
I would ask
Nymphomaniac.
I would ask if you guys have anywhere that you would like to put an F-bomb in this movie, but I would be willing to bet that you can't name a line that you just heard.
I don't
You're
know.
correct. Well, they added their own F-bomb because they said...
They call him like fertilizer
Yeah.
face. Yeah.
What the fertilizer or something
Or
like that?
Moriarty says fudge buckets at some point. Ha ha.
I hate when fucking kids' movies do that. Like, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've laughed at, like, the holy shit different word.
Oh, like in Spy Kids 2? Holy shiitake mushrooms?
But Spy Kids 2 is a masterpiece. That's on my one hand.
I don't like that you can just pull out a line from Spy Kids 2.
Not even 3. God's movie.
It's lodged in my brain. Yeah.
We still need to watch 2.
That's true. We skipped it, went straight to 3.
So
We
when are we going to
watched
marathon?
1 and 3.
When we're going to marathon the
marathon-
trilogy like Lord of
Yeah,
the
we
Rings?
watched them back to back. We didn't even put any space
Oh my
between
god, you guys
us.
have actually already done it. Holy shit.
It was like 6 months ago.
I was just joking.
We weren't. It was a fucking blast. Fuck you.
Yeah, had a great
Fuck
time.
you.
Whatever, Wes. You and me marathon Pokemon. It's not like we're mavens of culture either.
Or dude, we watched like 80 episodes in a weekend. It's whatever.
Yeah, we watched 1,000,000 episodes of Pokemon and Rambo 2.
Hey, Rambo 2's fucking art, okay?
Rambo
sounds like a
2
great
and
night.
Predator 2 and fucking
Hey,
Commando.
you'd rather watch Commando, Predator 2? You'd rather watch that than Sherlock Gnomes, wouldn't you? That's what I thought.
Yeah. There wasn't a single Rambo 4 reference in this. No one's fucking throat gets ripped out in this movie, and it's horse shit.
And see, they could have totally went with something like that. They're fucking garden gnomes. He just did that and he shattered. It would have been totally kid safe, and we would have laughed.
Yeah, the
No.
closest we get is Moriarty gets his skull bashed in, but he's fine.
Yeah,
We
he's
didn't
cool.
have a single scene of the gnomes having to run through an active minefield. And that's bullshit.
The closest we get is them being chased by a pug, which was...
The best part of the movie the only part that I unironically loved, because that's our next
Yeah.
question, right? Is what was your favorite part of the movie? And I
Yeah.
was grinning like a moron through all of the pug stuff.
So
I have a
that's
pug.
your one
For
good
the audience,
thing.
I have a pug, and I love pugs. So
And the pug is in the movie, so he creamed his fucking jorts over there.
Yeah, he was going to give it a 1 out of 10 at that point, but then he bumped it up.
I said this movie's 1 star. You give me like a pretty nicely animated, fairly sound accurate computer animated pug, 2 stars. That's where the 4 comes in. 3 of it's from the pug.
I guess that would be my good thing, is that as far as like the graphics go, it wasn't horrible. Like the gnomes, they look like they were made out of whatever material, ceramic or whatever. I mean, it looked all right.
Yeah.
It looked
Yeah,
like
I
an
would-
inanimate object.
I mean, yeah, that's really all it has going for it.
I mean, yeah, I can definitely agree that it's a decent looking movie if, uninspired for the most part. I will, give points that the protagonists at least have, character arcs, They change, from the beginning of the movie to the end. It's not anything substantial or really interesting, but it's there, at least it's something.
I mean, if they gave a shit, I could actually see this working with claymation a little bit. Because garden gnomes, and they're made out of ceramic and made out of clay.
Yeah, that would have been a great style for it, honestly. Like if it looked like Coraline.
But then
or
you'd have
something
someone
like
with an
that.
artistic vision. They didn't want that. They wanted gnomes dabbing.
They just
That's
put it in
true.
a generator. Yeah.
Fucking,
Anything else you guys have to say about this?
I got nothing. Fuck this movie.
I got fucking nothing either.
Alrighty then. Wes, what are we watching next week?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked, Harlan. We are going to
not.
delve into the wild sci-fi 90s world of Keanu Reeves, and we're going to watch Johnny Mneumonic.
Johnny Mnemonical. What?
Be still my lack of erection.
It's better than Battlefield Earth.
Oh, wow.
That's
You know,
saying a
at one
lot.
point in school, I watched Slaughterhouse footage, and I'm pretty sure that was better than Battlefield Earth.
Goddamn right. You're gonna love Johnny Mnemonic. I guarantee it.
All right. Well,
Mikey, I think he likes it.
How does he know a reference that's inside the Matrix anyway? He's the operator. Okay, sorry.
I guess that's it. We'll catch you guys next week for Johnny Mneumonic.
For Matrix Reloaded, starring exclusively Wes.
Yeah!
Bye.
Good to hear Wes come for 2 hours. Bye.
You're trash, bro.
I need a second, okay? Why can't anybody give me a goddamn second?
Hold on. You dig on multiverses?
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Cover my eyes!
That's it. What, we some kind of
B-roll boys.
Ripley, have yourself a merry little scritchard. Let your heart be whatever